Well, today we have just some news and notes stuff for your Tuesday. I wanted to start with something that they talked about it on TSN, and I want to talk about it because it is a constant topic among hockey fans in general. Fighting's down to zero point 0.2 fights per game, which means you'll see a fight every 5 games. Now, we're not talking about roughing. We're not talking about those schmozzes where everybody hugs and talks about where they're going for a beer after the game. We are talking about an actual fist fight where the guys square off and they go at it. The OHL's at the same level, so I always see people saying, "Well, they need to bring fighting back. They need to encourage fighting." They're not fighting in juniors anymore. 10 years ago, the OHL was around one fight per game, and 30% more than 30% of the NHL's teams, so more than 10, have had fewer than 3 fights this season. And I know a big deal was made over the fact that Philadelphia hadn't been in a fight, and what's going on? There was no fights. Now they've been in two. Arizona's had zero. I don't think the number of fights tells you necessarily how tough a team is or how a team's playing. A team can play very physical and not be a fighting team. But physical hockey, it's changing. The game has changed. The OHL had a crackdown on fighting, and you're getting a lot of players out of European leagues where fighting is curbed quite a bit. And what it leads to is players that you just don't see the fights like you used to. And I don't think that's reversible. I don't think there's any way to reverse it. And the nice thing is, the NHL has never legislated something other than the instigator rule, which I would just pull right out because it really doesn't matter. And I mentioned this when I talked about rule changes. We've got one fight every 5 games. The instigator rule isn't really necessary anymore. Back when we had more than a fight a game, and there were a lot of guys like a Gino Ojic who were squaring off. And Gino Ojic is the kind of guy that is the reason that rule exists. Because they would just go around and just tee off on people. So it's really not needed anymore because we don't really have that kind of just basically pure tough player. You have, like, even Lucic, who hasn't scored, I think he's had 1 goal in his last 66 games or 67 or some ridiculous number now. He's still not just pure, goonery. He can play hockey and he plays various roles with the Oilers. So I really don't see the need for it. Carl Hagelin's out for 4 to 6 weeks with a knee injury, proving that the LA Kings are absolutely a black hole of just an abyss this year. Kovalchuk played 6 minutes in the win against Edmonton, meaning Covey's on the fourth line, even with Hagelin out. He's saying all the right things, but secretly, Kovalchuk's going to look for a way out. Let's be honest, okay? Kovalchuk, when he left New Jersey, it was, all right, I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm gone. He has to feel just as bad right now in LA. The team's absolutely in the trash. Nobody's going to touch that contract with him not producing. Now he's not getting ice time. I would be very surprised if Kovalchuk stays beyond this season, if he doesn't find a way to cut out. And he signed that contract at an older age, so it may be tougher to get out of that contract. And he'll probably let him out of it. Shea Weber's making his season debut tonight. Carl Alsner's cleared waivers. Those two things are related. Alsner was waived to make room for Weber. And we'll see how Weber is. The good news is this. Weber hasn't played in a very long time. As long as he is 100% and he's capable of playing like the Shea Weber we know, the good news is that Weber now only faces a schedule of, around 60 games, which is perfect. I pointed out, not last year was when he got injured, but the year before, that he seemed to wear down as the season went along. That with the physical style of game that he plays, just with his nature, an 82-game schedule, he'll wear down those last 20 games. This prevents him from having to worry about that. He should actually be much fresher at playoff time. The Nylander, rumor has it, deal is close. I keep hearing 6.9, 6.9. I've heard it all over the place. It's whatever. It may just be a very thinly 69 reference that some person created. Now everybody's, just because there's a point in the middle, they go, oh, that sounds right. Anyways, the deadline is on Saturday. If the deal isn't done by Saturday, Nylander's not playing in the NHL this year. And then you can look for all kinds more articles. Sportsnet has an article about how Nylander's deal will affect their Stanley Cup window. There's articles on TSN about how it's close. So they ask Pasternak about him and how it's going to affect him. They ask how much money he gets and how it's going to affect Marner and Matthews. There's numerous articles on Matthews and his skating. Oh, that's why the channel exists. Anyways, yeah, there's not much to report. So everybody's out there doing all this stuff, and my answer is, yeah, there's nothing there. Nothing has changed fundamentally since I did the last video on William Nylander. Ovechkin is now at 625 goals, tied with Sakic and Iginla after last night. 15th on the all-time list. 690 is the goal if he wants to get to top 10. Mario Lemieux has that spot. He has 269 goals from Gretzky. Yes, I'm going to bring this up again. Here's why. He has 18 goals in 24 games. He's on pace for 61. That would put him 226 behind Gretzky. It may sound crazy, but I think he has more 50-goal seasons in him after this. I know he's 33 years of age, but he doesn't seem to be slowing down when it comes to the goals. So yes, I absolutely think he could put up another 260, 270 goals in his career. I don't see any reason to think he can't. Alexander Ovechkin is the best pure goal scorer I've seen in my lifetime. And I remember Mike Bossy. Bossy was fantastic, but he also played in the 80s era where there was a lot of goals being scored. Hey, in today's game, Bossy would still be fantastic, scoring 45, 50 goals a year. But some of those 60-goal seasons would come down. So yeah, Ovechkin I think is the best pure goal scorer, and it would be great to see him pass a record of the great ones that only he could pass. Right now, the closest on the active goal scoring leaders to him is Patrick Marleau, who's got a video coming this morning, and yeah, and then after that it's Kovalchuk, who has 5 goals this year. Probably not going to end up catching Ovie. And finally, people want me to mention this. Sven Baertschi, and now the rumors are coming out that he's considering retirement. Here's what I've heard. Here's the whole thing, and I've gone through numerous sources. There is a Swiss newspaper reporting he won't play this year. That he may not, or just won't play this year at all. What we know for sure is that he took to the ice earlier I think it was last Friday. Anyways, it was last Friday or Sunday. I read that he took to the ice, and it didn't go well. Maybe even before that, and I just didn't really report on it because, again, until there's progress or something to report. Anyways, he gets out on the ice, but he's having problems with light sensitivity, and when he was out on skates and his heart rate got going, he was dizzy on the ice. Now he's seeing a specialist. He's seeing a specialist out of Detroit, and there's no timetable for his return. But it doesn't sound good, and it's his 6th career concussion. So when you're up to concussion number 6, and he said this one feels different. The other ones he said it was like whiplash, and there were headaches and whatever, but it went away, and he could feel the progression. And this time, it's just there's no progression. It's not getting better. And again, and I've said this, with concussions before, your brain is a body part the same as anything else. We just can't see it, and we can't see the damage to it. If somebody's arm's broken, you can see it, leg, whatever, ankle. But with concussions, it's tricky, and there's the cumulative effect of concussions. I don't think he's going to retire before the end of the year. I'd be very surprised if he did. Dorsett retired when he did last year because he was done. The doctor told him, you're done, you're finished. If Baertschi gets told that, I have no doubt that he will likely say, all right, well, I'm done then. But I don't see that happening just yet. I think he'll exhaust all possible options first. I obviously wish him the speediest of recoveries and the best to his health, because your health is more important than a hockey game. And I really wish that was a message that I saw more in the sports world than I do. We always hear about these brave soldiers fighting through whatever injuries, and he's such a good guy. He's all bandaged up in there, but he's going right out on the ice, and unless he's on a stretcher, he's going to keep playing. And I sometimes wonder how many of those guys that do that later on in life say, man, my quality of life is crap now, because when my body was telling me I needed a break or I was hurt, I just played through it. It didn't matter. Yeah, all the best to him. And there you go. Let me know what you guys think about the news items, the stuff of the day. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through just having fun this video. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.